What if the greatest writer in human history was alive today? Imagine Shakespeare walking into Netflix headquarters, portfolio in hand, pitching to binge or not to binge instead of to be or not to be. Sounds ridiculous, right? But here's what might shock you. William Shakespeare would absolutely dominate the streaming wars, and I'm about to show you exactly why his 400-year-old plays would break the internet in 2025. Shakespeare's genius wasn't just his poetic language, it was his unparalleled understanding of human psychology. The man who never saw a smartphone somehow predicted our entire binge-watching culture centuries before Netflix existed. Think about it. Shakespeare invented the cliffhanger long before next episode starting in 5, 4, 3 was a thing. Each act of his plays ends with audiences desperate to know what happens next, exactly what streaming platforms algorithmically engineer today. But here's where it gets interesting. If Shakespeare pitched Romeo and Juliet to Netflix executives today, he wouldn't just deliver a period piece with fancy costumes. No, he'd transform it into a 10-episode sensation that would make Bridgerton look like amateur hour. The star-crossed lovers from feuding families? That's just the premise. Shakespeare would expand the Montague-Capulet blood feud into a multi-generational power struggle that would make Succession look like a family picnic. And remember, Shakespeare wasn't afraid to kill off main characters. Game of Thrones thought it was revolutionary by beheading Ned Stark? Please. Shakespeare was murdering beloved characters centuries before George R.R. Martin was born. Romeo Juliet, Hamlet, Macbeth, no one was safe from his pen. Netflix executives would be sweating through their Patagonia vests as the Bard casually explained how he'd murder the show's heartthrob in Season 3 for dramatic impact. What's truly mind-blowing is how Shakespeare would translate to our binge-watching era. Macbeth's 3 witches? They'd be reimagined as algorithm engineers predicting Macbeth's rise to CEO through data manipulation. Double, double, toil and trouble, fireburn and cauldron bubble would become the eerie chant as they code the predictive models that seal Macbeth's fate. But Shakespeare wouldn't just adapt his old works. The twist you never saw coming is how he'd create entirely new content tailored for our modern anxieties. Imagine Much Ado About Swiping, a romantic comedy exploring dating app culture with Shakespeare's razor-sharp dialogue, or The Merchant of Venmo, examining capitalism and friendship in the digital age. His understanding of human nature was so profound that it transcends time. The metrics would be off the charts. Shakespeare's shows would dominate Twitter discourse for weeks. Every English teacher would assign episodes as homework. Teenagers would quote Shakespearean insults in TikTok videos. "Thou art a boil, a plague sore" would replace "Okay, boomer" overnight. And don't even get me started on the merchandise potential. Hamlet's existential crisis hoodies would sell out in seconds. People would decorate their apartments with throw pillows reading, "These violent delights have violent ends," next to their Baby Yoda figurines. What makes this hypothetical so fascinating is that Shakespeare was fundamentally a populist. While we view his work as high art today, in his time, he wrote for the masses. His plays were the equivalent of blockbuster entertainment, full of sex, violence, political intrigue, and dick jokes. Yes, actual dick jokes. The groundlings standing in the pit of the Globe Theatre weren't literature professors. They were ordinary people looking for entertainment after a hard day's work. But here's the most mind-blowing part. In a world of endlessly recycled content and franchise fatigue, Shakespeare's 37 plays still feel revolutionary in 2025. His stories about power, love, betrayal, ambition, and the human condition remain as relevant today as they were 4 centuries ago. Netflix's algorithm might predict what we want to watch next, but Shakespeare's understanding of humanity would make him the ultimate showrunner for all time. So the next time you binge a show until 3 a.m., remember, Shakespeare understood your addiction centuries before Netflix existed. To binge or not to binge isn't really the question. The real question is, why are we still telling the same human stories Shakespeare perfected 400 years ago? If you enjoyed this Shakespearean streaming fantasy, smash that like button faster than Romeo fell for Juliet, and subscribe before this channel meets its tragic final act.